Greetings from Rumbo Minero. Cesar, how are you doing today?
It's a pleasure, Jorge.
My name is Jorge Leon, and together with Cesar Campos, we will be working on the development of this program. We wanted to mention that speaking precisely about the issue of what happened with for example, the apprehension of Nicolás Maduro by the United States, an event which we certainly celebrate. Well, a whole issue and conversation has come up about oil. Trump has said we are going to extract a large amount of oil. There are many ideas, yet he emphasizes the crucial need for significant investment in infrastructure. On the other hand, to improve the infrastructure, if you'll excuse the redundancy of what oil is in Venezuela. We will address that matter and also have a conversation about Petroperú with Pedro Gamio. An emergency decree was issued on the 31st, right? But let's see, let's develop, let's break down this topic. Hey, on social media, there's a lot of fighting about this Petroperú issue, and we have other guests.
Yes, Pedro Gamio was also a member of the Petroperú Board of Directors and has also been Vice Minister of Energy. He knows the subject in depth. We will also be with Fernando De la Torre, former Corporate Finance Manager of Petroperú, to address this topic.
It is crucial to consider the financial implications of how these ideas will be handled. All right, it's time to check in with our team. Rumbo Minero has put together a report on this, so please proceed with the discussion.
On the eve of closing 2025, the government published Emergency Decree number 010-2025, which orders the financial reorganization, organizational and asset structure of Petroperú. This measure is designed to responsibly address the current crisis facing the company, while safeguarding its crucial strategic position in the nation's energy security. As reported by the Ministry of Energy and Mines, Petroperú had accumulated net losses amounting to 1,611 million soles as of October of 2025. And by December of that same year, it shows liabilities to suppliers exceeding 2,569 million soles. Between 2022 and 2024, the state granted financial aid of 17,888 million soles, an amount that exceeds the annual budgets of the health and education sectors. Thus, Prime Minister Ernesto Álvarez specified that the measure does not imply the privatization or liquidation of Petroperú, but rather an intermediate and responsible solution facing the company's insolvency scenario. Meanwhile, the executive president of Proinversión reported that the entity has already launched a technical action plan, which will be presented within a maximum period of 60 days, with the objective of implementing the integral reorganization of Petroperú as entrusted by the government.
Well, we meet to discuss this Petroperú topic with two experts, Pedro Gamio, former director of Petroperú, and Fernando De la Torre, former corporate and finance manager of Petroperú. Let us begin by extending a warm welcome to both of you. We appreciate your presence here. And well, connected to, our first question is for Pedro Gamio. We'd like to inquire about what we observed earlier. Comings and goings, we discussed moments ago the big discussion that is now reaching into brawls and altercations between one side and the other regarding the Petroperú issue and regarding this matter of the decree of urgency that was issued on the 31st and this concept. To begin with, how about the idea? Is it feasible or can it be carried out? Is that one of the options? Tell us a bit.
Why choose Proinversión? I inquired. And off the record, they responded to me because there wasn't anybody else in the state. There is no institution within the Peruvian state that possesses the professional technical personnel that they can supervise a way out for Petroperú's problem. That doesn't mean Proinversión has the prior expertise of what restructuring actually means. Proinversión possesses expertise in the realization of assets, but not in management. And this situation will compel the same approach used last year of the board that Oliver Stark directed is maintained. The necessity for a restructuring professional with accredited experience and proven successes, assisting in discovering the most optimal exit route possible, and that enables Petroperú to regain its technical economic break-even point. We are talking about over-indebtedness that was way over its capacity when Petroperú in 2014 got the political order to build a new refinery when it had already sold the most valuable thing it owned. Sold or auctioned to save the Peruvian state from bankruptcy in 92, which was one of its toughest historical situations. We cannot forget that. Petroperú must now find a resolution. Avoid replicating the plan used by Mrs. Dina's previous administration of transfers that went into what seemed like a black hole, continuously providing the Peruvian state with over 17 billion sols. The minister highlighted the significant amount mentioned. We are talking about reprofile the debt. There is no alternative because the payment calendar affects the company's cash flow. And the second step is to enhance its competitiveness and efficiency. And Petroperú is currently overloaded, you see, with many things that a truly competitive enterprise simply would not possess.
Fernando, as Pedro Gamio rightly points out, the issue of the financial burden is perhaps the central point. To diagnose what has been occurring, that amounts to no less than 66 million sols. That is thrown into October as a liability. Only in cash the cash availability, 1.611 million. And 2.569 million sols in debt to suppliers. How is this liability generated? Pedro provided some explanation, but I would appreciate if you could elaborate further with your experience on the topic at hand.
Okay, thanks, Cesar. Thanks. I think the important thing, super important, is to remove the political part from the analysis and make it 100% technical. If we put aside the political biases of agreeing or disagreeing states and concentrate on the issue you're highlighting, the situation comes into clearer focus. We have a situation that is quite grave. We have a company suffering from a working capital deficit. The September figures were roughly $1,300 million in the negative. This means a company that is indebted to its suppliers of raw materials and inputs. They owe $1,300 million more than what they have in accounts receivable. In inventory, this is a company that isn't moving. It's technically insolvent, technically bankrupt. That is the first thing we have to accept. From there, regarding your question, how do we get out? In cases like these, the key to understanding how we escaped is by tracing our journey backward to figure out how we arrived there in the first place. And how did we get there? No, we got there by diverting the operating funds. What the company charged for its sales was diverted. Supplier payment, Talara project. The government has been filling the gap with its contributions since 2022, but the misallocation of funds has continued despite efforts. This is the reason why the gap has not diminished, but instead it has stayed the same. Occasionally it widens when money flows in, the government cuts back, and then it widens again. Initially, it is crucial to distinguish between operational and investment activities in financial flows. That is very simple to do under DU 010. Establishing trust and creating a consistent flow is a priority that should be addressed promptly.
Thank you very much, Pedro. I'd like to know your opinion concerning the line of thought you just mentioned about this matter.
I concur. The opinion of an expert who knows the subject, but I add something a bit hard to say, but even with FONAFE, the Peruvian state has developed policies. For example, at the moment, the Fund for the Stabilization of Fuel Prices incurred debt from where FONAFE took under the state's directive to settle the debt owed to the major wholesalers. It came from the profits of the electric distribution companies. Are you saying that was a technical solution? No, it was political. Not even FONAFE is shielded. This is precisely why top-tier private partners are essential, who, even holding a small stake in Petroperú, means implementing strict controls and regaining its corporate governance structure similar to that of the National Hydrocarbons Company of Chile, or what Colombia's National Hydrocarbons Company has with Vaivenes too. There are precedents across Latin America, but the other aspect, regrettably, involves experiences that history cannot disregard.
Fernando, about the so-called Talara refinery modernization, the story has been told so much around its high investment and that it went beyond all calculation. However, today its profitability is being debated. It had up to 3 inaugurations or re-inaugurations, you could say, in which, moreover, as they explained to me, this generated the start of the deadlines to be able to comply with the suppliers, especially the suppliers. And those bondholders, you see, who represent the largest creditors, especially on the international stage. Is the Talara refinery proving to be financially viable in this specific division among the 4 asset units outlined by the emergency decree? Will the current state and conditions of the refinery be significant factors?
Look, this Oh yeah. I must split the question in two, right? I have to say, the recent Talara initially was flawed. It was a project approved with 1,300 million budget at conceptual engineering, which allowed that. It goes up to 100%, 2,600 million, and it costs 6,500 million with interest, 5,500 million without, okay? So how does one jump from 1,300 to 5,500? It's a topic worth investigating because with 1,300, I can tell you, because back then, working as an advisor at Petroperú barely cleared the bar of the profitability that the company required by policy for any project. So I can assure you that with 5,500, there is no way it will clear the hurdle. Okay, that's to answer your question. And now, the inauguration has been hurried along because of political considerations, and we have witnessed through the news reports all of the issues that have been generated, especially with that famous flexi-coking unit, which is the heart of the project, which is the most expensive unit in the project, and right now we don't know for sure how it's being used, because what the company itself has been declaring is that they are importing light crudes that would no longer require passing through the flexi-coking unit. I don't want to get into technical discussions, but basically the most important component isn't being used. Today, the Talara project can be likened to a small taxi equipped with a Rolls-Royce engine, attempting to regain its investment by operating as a cargo taxi, although its scale remains that of a small taxi. So, how much can a Tico carry versus how much did the Rolls-Royce engine cost him? I mean, that project is practically unpayable. Despite accurate profitability forecasts, context in the market plays a crucial role in the outcome. They date back to when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine started, but he is still unable to make the payment. As a result, there is a financial burden that the Peruvian government will need to take on. And on the other hand, we have that cyclical gap I mentioned at the start, which is working capital, something that needs solving today. So I think there are two problems. And I close by saying that, responding to your question, I do not believe that refinery can generate the cash flows to repay the debt it currently has on its balance sheet of Petroperú, the structural debt, bondholders, and the Spanish government-guaranteed syndicated loan.
Pedro, we might have to suddenly separate. In order to effectively oversee our assets, we should consider different approaches, since some are successful, while others may not yield positive results.
Indeed, according to the conducted research, in the presence of skilled technicians and an economy vice minister, the outcomes remain positive. Peru's government, because they conducted a thorough evaluation of the company's situation, it was contemplated that there was a way out, but it is not an easy way out. The problem lies in what Fernando has mentioned. There's a central point concerning the heart of one of the world's 13 most technologically advanced refineries, which happens to be ours. The flexi-coking facility in Talara was the one that was built, but flexi-coking had a problem here. The auxiliary units weren't built by the same contractor, and they were delayed in being built. Those auxiliary units have had problems. And those problems have a technical assessment that is currently being processed, which must be resolved to determine responsibilities, since it prevents the primary unit from achieving 100% output capacity.
Yes, loss is there.
Meaning the maximum potential earnings that would enable shortening the time frame required to recoup the deficit shown in blue of the Petroperú economy. Therefore, this is the well-known expression, sticks after horns. And we add that the old refinery shouldn't have been shut down. Only a small 5% were utilized. By having closed down the old refinery without punishing the market, consequently the market ended up punishing itself.
Unfortunately, we are out of time now. Thanking you both, Pedro, for one last part, the political part where you have been The political part is important because people are sick of hearing about it in a poor country. The topic of issue of about what is happening with the amount of money that is given, right? He refuses to listen to any additional government suggestions. So how should we navigate the political landscape? It's a genuine concern. People advocate for keeping politics separate, but how do we effectively manage that aspect?
We are facing a major issue as 1 year has elapsed with no progress. In Ms. Dina's management, unfortunately, and now there is a risk of returning to the kingdom of window dressing. Political discussions often lead us to overlook technical analysis and realities in decision-making processes. That was mentioned here, and that could lead to the new government inheriting a much more complicated hot potato, than the one they have today. So, to put it in a few words, I fail to see that the technical discussion is being given precedence. Rather, what is happening is that narratives are being recounted about Petroperú's accounts, which are Ripley's.
Okay,
Production has granted me permission to ask Fernando one final question, Jorge. Thank you.
go.
And it relates to what came out this week, the possibility of a cut of up to 70%. Is this initiation of a cost reduction strategy beginning with both managerial and operational staff members a favorable approach for the company?
Caesar, good start. To say the least, essentially concerning individual cutbacks. The sole issue that concerns me is that they are putting the cart before the horses, meaning they haven't decided what company they want to have. In my opinion, Petroperú serves well as a refiner in the industry. The refinery is in need of a new concessionaire for it to continue. Petroperú should shift their focus towards sales. How many employees will be required for this transition is a decision that cannot be postponed. What business, what units you are going to operate. So it's a bit difficult to determine how many people you can eliminate, and the deadline in the DU of 30 business days, which is about a month and a half. In fact, I consider it to be too brief. Without a proper strategy for the business, I cannot justify downsizing the workforce. It would be a sudden and unwise move. Ultimately, I may end up parting ways with individuals I may require in the future, while holding on to those I have no use for, or vice versa. This makes me feel like we may be jumping the gun. Initially, the first thing I believe must be done, in my opinion, if you allow me, is this. There are two assets that must be separated. The refinery on one hand, and the pipeline, which does not belong to Petroperú, but to the ministry. Furthermore, select a suitable vehicle for this significant occasion and consider seeking out private operators. Despite efforts by skilled technicians at the refinery, they have not been successful in making it operational. Perhaps it's time to hand over the management to someone else? And that from there, you eliminate the losses at the gross margin level, and Petroperú does what it has always done best, which is marketing, reaching the Amazon, and so on and so forth. That is a bit of my technical recommendation.
We are sincerely grateful for your presence here. Your contribution has brought clarity not only to us but also to our viewers. Thank you both very much. The Petroperú issue, trying to take it to the technical debate, as you rightly mentioned, we must inform you, naturally, do not forget that it is already nearly 85% sold out as of September of this current year. Expomina Peru, reserve your stand. Don't be left out, over 1,400 stands available. Here comes the invitation. Let's take a short break for commercials and we'll be back shortly. All right, we are now in the America mining block. We connect directly to New York, to Wall Street with José Gonzáles. José, how are you?
Well done, Jorge. Absolutely thrilled. Wishing you all a joyful new year ahead.
José, one question. We have already seen this whole topic of the apprehension, let's say, from Maduro, right? On the part of the United States, which we celebrate. However, they subsequently began to delve into subjects regarding which we developed, for instance, the petroleum industry, correct? Therefore, Trump has started saying that they would have a certain amount of oil, that Delcy, the acting president, let's say, he would have guaranteed them a certain amount of petroleum. So right now, what information do you possess concerning this matter? How significant is it? We understand the significance of this issue. However, there are discussions concerning the need for significant investment in addressing the destruction of oil assets. Tell us a little.
Well, following the apprehension and detention of Nicolás Maduro in the early hours of January 3rd, which caught both from politicians to analysts and bankers alike, there was an expectation that something significant would occur during the first quarter, yet not with such abruptness and radical change. Well, the stated intention of the Trump administration is that the goal encompasses not just a change of regime, but control over Venezuelan petroleum. That much was evident. Venezuela possesses the largest conventional petroleum reserves globally, making it the strategic reserve of conventional crude oil. The accurate terminology is crucial because the oil in question is not extracted through fracking or shale methods. Rather, it is categorized as heavy, extra heavy, or ultra heavy oil, crucial for the manufacture of both asphalt and diesel fuel. And naphthas. Light crude oil is only good for gasoline. We had mentioned that the International Energy Agency has already aligned with OPEC, saying that peak demand is around 2050. We will reduce our oil consumption in the future, as the United States is also working towards this goal. Is establishing dominance over that strategic reserve by aligning internal stability based on Iraq's experience with the continuity of the regime in a new stage before betting on the opposition and letting chaos happen as in Iraq. That is going to be the dynamic moving forward in the United States. And we are going to watch very closely to see if they are capable of executing it or not. What is it that makes the major difference in Venezuela? That Chevron had the authorization to extract petroleum for production. 3 years during which he was neither suspended nor expelled from the full conflict. Chevron just announced 11 tankers are going for Venezuelan oil, potentially jumping from 250,000 to 1 million or 500,000 toward the 3 million in 5 years and 4 to 6 million in under 15 years. The Chevron issue is important for Peru because it is an appendix. Chevron is in Peru, in the blocks of the Peruvian shelf in the north. One might wonder if simply possessing 1 to 3 million barrels could lead to Peru being relinquished. The answer is no, as this serves as a strategy to manage geological and institutional risks through diversification. Venezuela is currently in a state of constant flux, a highly unpredictable situation where the possibility of internal anarchy cannot be dismissed. But the energy agenda, as we have stated on the program, is geopolitically imposed.
Hey, Jose, although in the first 48 hours following the military intervention that Nicolas Maduro learned, the oil price quotes in international markets remain stable, with minimal fluctuations in the needles. However, I am curious about the current spot price and am eager to know the predictions for its future trends.
Despite the uncertainty, Cesar, the price of Brent, which is the benchmark for global crude oils, has maintained levels of 60, 61, a little more, very stable. It's obeying supply and demand, and there's an excess of oil supply in the market, and demand is presumed to be and not be very dynamic because of the growth prospects in China. That is in the very near future. In the long term, to the extent that we continue to consume oil, prices will be pressured upwards. If Venezuela resumes producing, it will sustain that equilibrium under an American administration that will decrease reliance on the Middle East and Russia, which is precisely what the Trump administration appears to be deciding upon right now. The markets, which under other circumstances would have reacted, have remained very stable. Venezuela is not important now, but it will be important in the future, and it is being factored in that despite the volatility and what may happen in the country, Venezuela returns to the oil market.
Agreed, Jose. Thanks a lot. Thank you for consistently staying in touch with us. We are in constant communication and ready to discuss. For access to the virtual magazine from Rumbo Minero, visit the website www.rumbominero.com as mentioned in Rumbo Minero magazine. In order to stay informed about the critical topics being developed by José Gonzáles, the international director, and the Rumbo Minero team in Peru, it is essential to read all the latest updates. We'll take a commercial break now and be right back. Now we are speaking with Claudia Cooper, who serves as the Vice President of Sustainability and External Affairs at Compañía Minera Antamina. Claudia, it's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing? Welcome to Rumbo Minero.
Hello, Jorge Carlos. How are you doing, Cesar? I hope all is well. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
We are delighted. We specifically want to discuss this significant award that you have been given. Antamina was recognized by the National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy as the company achieving the greatest number of accolades across the 20 years of the Sustainable Development Award, which demonstrates consistency in its administration throughout the years, since its, since its beginnings, right? So, what cultural and leadership factors, Claudia, do you think have been key to sustaining over time an administration aligned with high standards of sustainability, safety, and social performance?
First and foremost, maintaining the continuity of social policies at Antamina is crucial for a country like Peru. It is something of great importance that we have upheld. There have been quite a few of us who have served as vice presidents of sustainability at Antamina, and every single one of us has, in one way or another, honored and respected the work that was established previously. This has enabled policies to move forward without interruption. We are aware that projects often require a significant amount of time to be completed, so it is important to maintain continuity and proper governance throughout the process. And that also comes from a system, let's say, from shareholders who have maintained those policies. They have allowed us to be consistent over time, right? Which is something that I, at least in Antamina, really value. It has taken a while, but everyone has been sticking to the consistent action plan. Consequently, they are seeing positive results.
That is why the water and sanitation project in Huarmey has stood out so much, Claudia, which has benefited more than 30,000 people, which is framed. Moreover, in an approach of articulated territorial development in the state with the state, tell us, what results, what impacts has this experience had?
Well, it's extremely important because I believe that let's say what we understand as the basis of all development lies in water. That is to say, without an adequate water supply, no health, education, or productive policy can be sustained. For instance, in the case of Huarmey, that particular water initiative has successfully delivered high-quality water to every single resident living in Huarmey. But they are also going to open a grade 2.1 hospital that we will also be delivering soon. Being leading the way in a complete sanitation project is crucial. We are replicating a similar initiative in San Marcos, our district known for production. The pioneering role we play is significant in ensuring cleanliness and hygiene in our community. The success story has shown San Marcos that it is achievable to have high-quality water with constant pressure around the clock, providing a realistic opportunity for the community. These are projects that aren't easy because they are invasive, correct? Would we also need to handle the connections, establishing them, and similar tasks for a water project? We have had to work a lot with the authorities of Huarmey and also with the Ministry of Housing. Collaborating as both state and private entities, we came together to achieve our common goal, a substantial project requiring 200 million sols in funding.
Currently, the model is discussing a complex mining issue, correct? It revolves around accident prevention in transportation systems. For staff, allowed Antamina to go over 7 years without accidents, 0 accidents in outside transport. Incorporating cutting-edge technology and surveillance. Social biopsy. Hello, Claudia. I'm interested in how this security model is changing mining standards and its feasibility for other operations. What's your take on this? That they can be scaled so that, is it possible for other operations to perform the same task?
I believe it's definitely true that, viable. Furthermore, Antamina faces the dual challenge that it is not easy to reach the mine, and we also lack road infrastructure that is, well, absolutely, let's say, ensuring safety in traffic flow has been a significant challenge for us as a company, and we have dedicated considerable effort to enhance road safety measures. To all the mine workers working in that area over there, we have to travel through the public roads of Ancash, which today are also a challenge to make them safer for everyone. Hence, relentless efforts have been made to guarantee that the road meets all necessary conditions for safe passage, with every precaution taken to ensure its suitability for transit. In order to ensure safe transportation for the buses to reach the construction site. Clearly, the workers' productivity is significantly impacted by their mode of transportation to the mine. Therefore, the aim is for him to arrive fully rested and brimming with absolute certainty in the matter, enabling him to deliver the expected performance or the desired outcome. And as I was saying, yes, that is absolutely correct. At every single level, security is our top priority for us and all of our staff, myself included. The means by which we journey using Antamina's system for transporting personnel.
Thank you, Claudia, for being with us.
I appreciate your offer, but no, thanks.
Well, congratulations on your management, and we hope to have you here in the studios to discuss other topics as interesting in mining another time.
Delighted. A million thanks.
Okay, now we move on to the Mining and Society block led by Iván Arenas.
Hello friends, how are you all doing? My name is Iván Arenas. As you already know, there has been a very specific intervention by the United States, removing the dictator Nicolás Maduro, former president of Venezuela, and his wife. Following this highly surgical operation conducted by the United States, and they say many things, including that the United States would basically be interested in the oil. Keep in mind that the country boasting the largest amount of confirmed oil fields and reserves is also the one with the highest production levels. It's Venezuela. Is that how things are? I mean, is that it? Are those the real objectives the United States has regarding Venezuela? Or perhaps there are, for example, other expectations, other goals that the United States has in relation to Venezuela? The experts are stating that in order to resurrect the deeply troubled oil industry within Venezuela, it would require a time frame spanning from 20 years up to 25 years. Yes, plus a millionaire investment of more than $100,000 million. I don't know if this in some way benefits the United States in the medium and short term. But regardless, the United States has already established certain agreements, and President Trump himself has stated their interest in seeing American corporations consider visiting Venezuela to capitalize on the abundant oil reserves present in the country. It will be very expensive, yes, but there is another important point. For example, in the mining arc area, there are approximately more than 8,000 tons of proven gold reserves. To offer a point of comparison, Peru exported approximately 110 tons last year, therefore 8,000 tons. It is, let's say, quite an interesting number. My point is that the interest extends beyond merely exploiting the petroleum resource via their corporations, obviously. Furthermore, the United States would have a different position regarding Venezuela, and this stance relates to the copper reserves Venezuela holds, 2.4 million tons, which isn't a massive amount, by the way. However, it possesses both the gold and the rare earth elements, which are chemical components bound within certain minerals. These factors could play a role, separate from the obvious geopolitical stance of the United States. My friends, next week we are going to be having a conversation about these subjects that sound extremely interesting concerning Venezuela, its geopolitics, and its minerals. Many thanks.
And so, as we are arriving at the conclusion of this program, I feel it is crucial to emphasize everything that has been discussed just now concerning Petroperú, but the debate being technical and not political is also very important, what Pedro Gamio expressed. Thus, we will persist in inviting people to engage in a technical debate here in the program.
Technical, not political or demagogic either.
Right. And naturally, each week we will provide updates on the Trump situation, as well as the latest developments in the oil crisis. Venezuela stands out as the country with the most abundant resources. Thank you so much for joining us, Cesar. Your presence is greatly appreciated. My name is Jorge Leon, and together with Cesar Campos, we have developed the following program for you. We will be waiting for you next weekend right here on this same channel.